All right, I did a video as a bit more stream of consciousness and unstructured, kind of deconstructing what I do and what I coach dudes to do when it comes to text game and more or less drawing women in via text here in the global sexual marketplace. So this applies to your dating apps. This applies to social media as well. This applies to even your kind of cold approach or your pickup or your social circle game and approach where you get a girl's social media or text or number, whatever, and then you initiate this conversation over text message. So we're going to go over the structure of that and get so you guys can systemize it a little bit better and sort of have a bit of a flow chart to kind of go by. I'm Paul from Apex Mindset. Hit the subscribe button if you're not subscribed, notification bell, like it, share it. I'm basically shadow banned. So without your help, we won't get this information out to other dudes. So I'm using Zoom right now to record this. Let's see how well I do. I'm going to move to a share screen. I'm going to move to this deal. So now I am sharing the screen and boom, here we go. So we're going to go over text game, a little flow chart here. All right. So this will help you kind of systemize what you're doing. Remember, I have this, the model we're looking at, okay, is that you're running your sourcing of women kind of like a sales pipeline. Until you actually have the face-to-face meetup, there is no real connection there. All right. What you're building is more or less her desire to want to go learn more about you, her curiosity, her fantasy, and her investment to want to pursue something with you. There really is no human connection yet, especially particularly if you met her on social media or on a dating app first. So if you've never had face-to-face human contact with this person, the whole purpose of doing this is to get her in the face-to-face meeting. Okay, so that's what you're looking at. And so you can't put, I said this on Sunday, I'll say it again, you can't put that much stock into what these women think or how they react to you. Don't worry. So, genuine burning desire is necessary, but right now she doesn't know you. You are an avatar to her. You are a person on the internet. You're not a real person yet. Okay. So building that genuine desire, having that's what happens in person. What you can do is build her curiosity, her investment, and her, or some arousal and attraction can be built, but really that arousal and attraction is built to the fantasy of being with you or to fantasy in general, be it sexual fantasy or just fantasy in general of what it would be like to be with high value guy. And of course, it's not real or tangible yet because you haven't been face to face. So that's really important to kind of go over. And as I also covered Sunday too, there's this idea from the pickup world, a little bit more old school, that the text is only for setting dates. That is true. It holds true. But a lot of guys they don't spend enough time or effort building up that fantasy and investment from her in order to try to get the date. So they might connect on Tinder or on a dating app. And then it's like a opener and they have the initial contact, they open a quick exchange, and then they're immediately asking for the date without any buildup of investment from her. That's not really as useful to you now in the global sexual marketplace, where people are meeting more and dating more from meeting online first. It's just not working. You're leaving a lot of potentially good situations with women. You're leaving those out there on the table by moving a bit too quickly to the close and not getting rejected, ghosted, and so on and so forth. And then assuming that her resistance is a lack of genuine desire for you, because again, it's the lack of understanding. She can't have genuine desire from you. She's looking at a profile, right? And so yeah, so that's a little bit, it's from the old pickup days of where I cold approach a woman. I have a face-to-face interaction with her. I get her phone number. And then of course I use the phone for setting up the date. And that still applies a bit to the face-to-face interaction, but there's a bit more nuance to it now in the global sexual marketplace. You guys are going to get blown out and lose a lot of opportunities if you don't spend the time, I guess, and the energy and effort into building a little bit more, we'll say, rapport, I guess, with a woman. But really what you're building is that fantasy and investment. So again, think of it as a model of you're spinning many different you got a lot of different potential women in your inbox or in your dating app, and you're just sort of going through them and taking them through this flow chart until they end up, closing with you and meeting with you. All right. So we'll go over this. You got the initial contact. Contact is your opener, or sometimes she'll open you. You guys swipe and match, and then someone says, hey, or you do a clever opener on her. I've done a couple videos on openers, so I recommend that you go check those out. So from the opener, immediately what you want to do is you're building curiosity. All right. So she should be curious from the initial opener. She should be wondering a bit about you and wanting to learn more about you. So even if she did on the initial contact was like, hey, she already had some curiosity and interest in you, and that does demonstrate investment if she initiates contact with you, but you're kind of, you want to spark her curiosity. And that's with how you do the opener and that initial interaction, the type of questions that you ask her and the type of, the direction you take that initial conversation should spark her interest and her curiosity. What's important here is that you're not going to talk about things that aren't very interesting to her. All right. You're going to talk about things that would be interesting to her, which and also kind of make her want to learn more about you. All right. That's the whole idea. And some of these things can be, demonstrations of value as well. So subtle ways of demonstrating your value based on that initial contact or interaction. And I'm not going to get hung up too much on all the little nuances of this. It's going to be, hours of video. We're just going to go over the flow chart real quick. Ask questions in the chat though, if you have them, and I can do further videos on what I mean and clarify and expand upon this stuff. Okay, so from there, we'll ignore the part where she ghosts for a minute. So you got the initial contact or the opener, curiosity built, and now we move into the body of the discussion. The body of the discussion in the exchange could last just a couple quick exchanges, or it could even last several weeks of a little bit of back and forth and push pull. All right. Now, some of you guys are going to go several weeks. I'm not going to waste time on some girl for several weeks. Look, man, she's just one of several girls that you have abundantly in your contact list right now. All right. It's not a big deal. She's nonchalantly going through 10, 20 guys, who knows, having these little exchanges with these guys, trying to vet out who she's going to actually meet up with. So you're doing essentially the same thing, right? Instead of getting hung up on one or two pretty girls that you matched with or you met, you're talking to several women and seeing who is going to be the best choice for you to go out with. And that's where the screening happens too. Okay. So and again, I did a longer video on this on Sunday. So we talked about building investment in fantasy. So during the conversation, you're going to want to get her to ask questions about you. All right. Her to have more of an exchange with you where she's curious about you and asking and wanting to learn more about you. Also, doing little things or compliance tests are good as well. When she does things to comply with you and to comply with what you say or your wishes, and when she is asking questions about you, that's demonstrating investment. With that, and this all happens more or less simultaneously, you're also building fantasy. What do I mean by fantasy? You're building her images in her head of her being with you. So let's say the conversation moves sexual. It's the image in her head of her being in a sexual situation with you. If it moves into things that you would do on a date or what you do to hang out or whatever, it moves into the image of what it would be like to be hanging out with you on that date. And it's not always like, tell me what the perfect date would be like, although that's not a bad thing to ask, but it's like, that some of that can come across as cheesy too, if it's not done the right way, almost like a 1980s, dating, dating service question or something. Right. So but it could be something simply like your banter, joking around, or a meme or a funny meme or something like that. It's kind of giving her, you're demonstrating a sense of humor. She's enjoying herself talking to you on this text for a little bit. Well, you're kind of demonstrating what it would be like to be with you in person. Okay. A good thing to do from here also is to get her off the app when you can, get her to your social media account, which is more or less your landing page. That demonstrates investment when she's willing to get off the app into another platform. It allows her to stalk you on that platform, which you want her to do because you're going to present yourself as high value on that platform, be it Instagram or Facebook. And it also allows you to, stalk her as well and make sure she's not married with 3 kids or something, right? And she's trying to, and she's make sure she's not fat fishing you. Make sure that, see, maybe she just broke up with somebody the other day, which is fine. Who cares for something casual, hookup or meetup? But you get what I'm saying, right? You can learn a little bit about her through her account as well. So especially in this pandemic situation where your first meetup might be at each other's houses or might involve a little bit more investment on her part and on your part for that matter, than just a quick 10-minute meetup for coffee or a drink or something like that. Screening is kind of important. Getting them to your social media platform, which acts as a landing page, if you think of that from a marketing sense, is a good way of getting investment in fantasy and building fantasy also from her. Your pictures, the way you present yourself, all build up an avatar or a fantasy of who you are, right? And again, through there, you're screening her and you're making sure that, she's somebody you actually want to go hang out with. All right. So you should be doing this again with several women. Some women won't go much past the curiosity phase. Some women will really engage you in a conversation where you can get investment from her and build fantasy with her. But, maybe you don't get off the dating app with some of those women. Maybe you're still on the app, right? Not a big deal. Okay. Some women you get off the app and you get into, let's say, a video chat because maybe she doesn't want to meet up with you right away because the meetup's going to be at her house or your house, and she's a little nervous about meeting a guy she doesn't know from the internet at your house. So boom, that's okay. Maybe we move into social media and then we do a video chat off of Facebook, right? So these are things we can do. But when she agrees to do those steps, that's a compliance and agreeing to take things another direction or a step further. When a girl agrees to do things with you or for you, that demonstrates investment. The act of stalking you on social media, trying to learn more about you in questions, that demonstrates investment. And again, your language and things you're using with her or your interaction with her is building a fantasy, building an idea of pleasant emotions and happy, and maybe in sexual emotions and seductive and attractive and arousing emotions of what it would be like to be with you. The whole time during this phase, again, you're screening her. All right. From there, when she's demonstrating investment, particularly, all right, you move into the close. So, you know what? Why don't we continue this in person? When are you free next week? That kind of thing. I've done videos on closing. I'll do more videos on closing. We won't go down, get in the weeds with it, but now you're going to move into asking or getting the close. And so the close is you're getting an agreement for her to meet up with you. You start by figuring out when or what her schedule is, and then you move to setting exact dates and times and that sort of thing. Okay. So that's a close. And then you move, now you have an exact date or time set up. Best time to do that again is when she's demonstrated some investment and all these 3 things have been satisfied: curiosity, investment, and a little bit of fantasy built up. Now, this can happen rather quickly or immediately. She can ask a curious question. You could say something joking around with something sexual back, maybe because she seemed open to it. And then boom, she comes back with something sexual. And now you're building fantasy. And then right away, you're saying, you know what? I think we're both, our minds are in the right place. Let's continue this direction of this conversation in person, whatever. And then you set up the close, right? So it can go boom, boom, boom real quick, or she might pull back and then you banter a little bit and you pull back and so on. And it lasts, several interactions. Each time though, you're not investing a ton of time and energy into these women. Okay. You're just putting enough into them in order to keep this conversation along and to try to move it towards the close. But you're not getting so deeply involved and emotionally attached and deep into this exchange with them, because they really need to demonstrate a desire to meet with you. All right. Having these deep and lengthy exchanges with them is usually just vetting yourself out as a beta and potentially making yourself more into a platonic figure versus something else and something more than that. And you're really just giving her attention and supplying her ego so she can meet up with other guys that she would rather sleep with than you. And so that's why you don't want to waste your time on this. But again, you're just moving it along just like a sales pipeline. Now, the confirm being the last step, some people confirm, some people don't. In this day and age, to prevent flaking, especially from a girl who is, not like you just met her online or on a dating app, I don't think it's a bad thing to get confirmation. Now, I used to not get confirmation at all, but I was more of a day game pickup guy. I would meet them face to face, and then I'd set the date very quickly on over a text message or something, and then I didn't confirm anything. All right. I'm not giving them the opportunity necessarily to back out of it. I'm just sort of expecting them to meet up with me. And that worked out most of the time. I rarely got stood up when I was doing that. But the reason, though, that was the case is because I built up really good interaction and connection with that initial pickup or that face-to-face meeting. When you're doing it online, you're just an avatar. So it's hard to build that arousal and attraction and build up that suspense or whatever that makes her want to meet with you without having that face-to-face encounter. I can always build, and when your game is good enough, the answer, you'll always be able to build up this too, a better arousal and attraction face-to-face, which is why face-to-face, I often don't have to confirm. But women are flakier nowadays, I noticed, than they were, even a decade ago. Okay. Women are flakier. They're easily more distracted, and they're constantly inundated with more attention as well. And so they're more likely or often likely to disrespect your schedule, not meet up with you. Now, some of you guys will think, well, that's screening, right? I'm going to screen out the women who do that. No, that's one fair way to look at it. And I appreciate that. But here's the thing. When they're in your frame and they see you as high value and they're attracted to you, then that's going to be a lot different. A chick who has gone out with me one time sees me as high value. We have a good exchange back and forth. When I say exchange, it could mean a sexual one as well. Her chances of her ever ghosting me or, not meeting up with me or standing me up are like zero. Right. And so she's not the type of girl just because she's the type of girl who's flaky in the initial pickup, which guess what? If you're dealing with a 21, 22-year-old girl, well, they're all pretty much flaky to some degree. So that's what you're going to be dealing with. Girls who will, oh, haha, giggle, giggle. I forgot, I meet up with this guy. So that's where the confirmation happens. And so just getting a soft or hard confirm, like, hey, like quick text the day before that day, hey, what's up? How's your day going or whatever. Send her a quick meme or something like that. Memes are good. Send her a quick meme or a GIF. She replies LOL and be like, looking forward to seeing you later or something like that. And just that's it. You know what I mean? You just say, and I always behave as if on the confirm. I don't say, hey, just making sure. I'm glad I'm actually going in this direction so I can mention this. I never say in the confirm, hey, just making sure we're on for tonight or any of that stuff. When I set the initial date or the close, it's never a maybe date. It's never we'll see about my schedule, blah, blah, blah. That's not a real close, okay? A we'll see, you didn't close her yet. Okay. You're still somewhere else. You're still somewhere else in this process. You're not closed and past the close yet if you don't get a confirmation, a date, a time, and a place. All right. So no maybe dates. Okay. It's always a confirmed close. But when you get that close, you can then you don't have to confirm. You always behave as if she's going to meet you. So sending a GIF or a meme or something like that, she LOLs it or whatever, and be like, look forward to seeing you later or something like that. Right. So she has, if for some reason it was going to flake on you or forgot, then she's going to go, oh crap, that's right, I'm supposed to meet him tonight, or whatever. If she's going to flake on you, she's going to, let you know there in text, more likely that, oh, something came up or whatever. But it's better to have her flake on you via text than in person, right? So that covers that. Let's look at, and we covered screening as well. Screening happens mainly, it's happening throughout the entire process, but the true part of the screening is seeing how well she's invested and seeing how well she responds to discussions that put her mind into a fantasy or in a future of being together. Or if you move in a sexual direction or a humorous direction, is she responsive to that or not responsive to that? Me personally, if a girl isn't responsive to joking around or funny memes or a little bit of sexual innuendo that's not like disgusting or stupid, I'm not interested in her. If I make a dumb joke or whatever and she gets pissed off or offended, or if she's just like sexually closed or whatever, when I make when I make a little comment, I'm not talking like overtly, show me your boobs online stuff, right? I'm talking just like, something is kind of smooth, little sexual innuendo. If she's not responsive to that, to me, that's a screening thing. I'm not interested then. I'll focus on other women that are more interesting than she is. If she's like super flaky and not very committal, I might allow some banter to go on, but I start ghosting her throughout the conversation and I stop getting interested. That's part of the screening process, right? Well, now let's move over to where I wrote ghost here. Okay. So I got a little arrow going to ghost. At some point in the conversation or the contact, it's very common for girls nowadays to temporarily or long-term ghost. You say something or whatever, and then she doesn't respond for an hour, or she doesn't respond for 2 hours, or she doesn't respond till the next day, or there's conversation just drops off and several days happen before she continues to respond. So that's very common because women have ruined, I don't say women, I mean guys too, but we're not dating guys here, right? We're talking about dating women. And people have ruined their attention spans with the internet and their stupid phone that you carry around and check your notifications every 5 seconds and swipe through all your social media accounts all day long. Especially women who are really attached to social media and the younger girls, the ones who are in their early 20s. They have no attention span. So they'll be having a conversation, then squirrel distractions, and then they forget about the conversation. Then they remember it later, then they respond. It's also just remembering she's talking to several other men too. So that's part of it. So at some point it's pretty normal for that ghost to happen. Some of those things can be, shit tests as well to see if you're needy, see if you're going to double and triple text or get mad or upset, those sorts of things. So pretty normal for her to just drop out of the conversation. That's fine. She drops out and doesn't pick it back up. You do a takeaway. I did a video on takeaway, so you want to go check that out. But basically that's kind of a final little comment. It could be just like, maybe you ask her a question and, she doesn't respond or whatever. And then you go, LOL, that's a very well thought out answer or something like that could be your takeaway. Okay. Just like, I don't care. It's kind of funny, but yeah, we just dropped off this conversation. What you're doing is you're giving her a chance to pick the conversation up again and decide to go back to really the curiosity point. If she decides if your takeaway is kind of funny or clever enough, or just demonstrates that, yeah, you're still interested, but you're not really caring too much, then that'll make her curious again about you. She could be curious again about how that conversation was going through all of her distractions of having men throw their D's at her all day long. And then she'll get curious again. And then maybe you pick the conversation up and there's some investment or fantasy. You could have moved to the investment and fantasy kind of phase of this, and then she kind of drops off for a couple of days, and then you pick it back up again, and then there's more investment fantasy stuff or topics, so she's asking you questions and stuff, and it's pretty cool. And then maybe you drop off, because you got a date to go on, and then it gets picked up again, and that could happen over the course of several days. And that's fine. And then eventually you move to close and confirm. All right. So ghosting is just sort of part of the process. When I say ghosting, I don't mean a permanent, she never talks to you again ghost, although that does happen. But I'm just talking where she just drops out of the conversation. She's ghost, right? She's gone. And so that happens normally. All right. She's rarely like, oh, I got to go. I'll talk to you later. Yeah, sometimes she is, but normally it's just the conversation drops off. That's fine. Well, you do a takeaway or you pick up from where that conversation left off as if nothing. If she continues to ghost, well, then she's done, right? She's out. If she picks it back up, is curious again, then you move it back to investment fantasy into the close and eventual meetup. So that kind of covers all of it. Let me stop the screen share here, come back to here. And that basically covers all your bases. There's your flow chart for how to bring a girl along from the initial, hey, how are you? Or, hey, nice puppy. Or, hey, interesting outfit. Or, that looks uncomfortable. Or whatever your initial, okay. Your initial line, say line, but your initial contact is whether she contacts you, you contact her with a good opener. Okay, you spark curiosity, but then again, you're in that body of that conversation maybe for a little bit. When she demonstrates investment fantasy and she's curious about you, then you go ahead and you move to the close. And that gives you a flow chart on how to do that. So hopefully you guys like it. Hopefully you guys that makes sense. Again, this is just stuff that I did and do and coached guys on how to do. I got unconsciously competent with it. So I'm kind of having to go backwards and restructure it so you guys can learn it. So hopefully it's good for you. All right. Thanks again for tuning in. And until next time, you got any questions though about texting, text game or pickup or talking to women or whatever scenarios, go ahead and throw them in the comments or ask questions, shoot me an email. If you want additional help with this, obviously hit me up for consultations. All right, guys, take care.